IVM.
Hi, I'm Utsav, a behavior researcher by training and a slow traveler by passion. Postcards from Nowhere is a travel podcast where I condense a decade of travel experiences and explore not just the where, but also the why and how to travel. My stories emerged from slow traveling the less explored parts of the world: Bosnia and Herzegovina, Armenia, Uzbekistan, and even China. At the end of each story, I give practical tips and new ideas about how to travel better. This week, starting a new series, People Unlike Us, we delve into the lives of those who for over 1,000 years have lived on a large swath of the ocean spanning 4 countries. Take a peek into the Bajau Laut or the Sea Nomads. A letter dated 14th May 1728, penned in Kupang, a provincial capital in Indonesia. A Dutch East India Company officer was writing to the Governor General. He reported that there had been no foreign ships or boats since his last letter, except for 40 small Bajau Laut boats, which appeared here on the southwestern coast of Roti, some of whose people came ashore under the pretext that they had come to look for sea cucumber. The Rotinese rulers did not, however, trust these people, and they refused them their shores and made them depart. The boats also appeared on the 8th of March in the open sea outside of this fortress. In all probability, the Bajau Laut boats may have ended up staying put on the coast of Roti for a long time. But how does one live on a boat, and not a ship mind you, and survive not just for weeks or months, but for decades altogether? Fast forward 2 centuries to the UK. Sometime in the 1960s, Alistair Hardy, a marine biologist at Oxford University, created a controversy in the scientific world. Hardy had been interested in the question of why humans have a layer of body fat under our skin, which is unlike other primates. He thought it was somewhat analogous to the blubber of marine animals. He never believed that humans were fully aquatic like whales or dolphins. Rather, he argued that we foraged for aquatic foods, which kept us in the water for hours altogether. He pointed out a number of other human traits that seemed to equip us for a coastal life, such as our hairless bodies and an upright posture, which he thought may have arisen from wading on our 2 legs to keep our heads out of the water. He was chided for crossing over into anthropologist territory and promoting a theory that was against the dominant one at the time, that we had evolved on land, learned to walk on 2 legs across the dry savanna, and used tools to become great hunters. But today, if you were to meet Sulbin, he would probably agree with Alistair Hardy. He is no marine biologist, anthropologist, or a scientist of any kind. However, he has the ability to fish by diving more than 65 feet underwater for minutes at a time on one breath. Oh, and Sulbin is not alone. He lives in a part of the world known as the Coral Triangle, an area straddling both the Indian and Pacific Oceans, known for its rich biodiversity. It covers the tropical marine waters of Indonesia, Malaysia, Papua New Guinea, Philippines, Solomon Islands, and Timor-Leste. There's an entire community of people who literally live on the sea and survive off of it. Sulbin is from the Bajau Laut community, more popularly known as the Sea Nomads. His ancestors were probably those who the officer of the Dutch East India Company was writing about. But the Bajau Laut are not alone or even unique in the region. Across different parts of the Coral Triangle, one could meet the Moken people from the Burmese-Thai Margui archipelago and the Orang Laut of southeastern Sumatra and the Riau Islands of Indonesia. One thing common to all these people is rather peculiar. They're often hard on hearing. Now imagine this. You dive from your boat into a shallow reef below. After about 30 seconds without spotting a fish, you pedal your feet and pop up to the surface, snatch a few breaths, and descend again. Every 3rd or 4th breath, you spot a fish. You raise your spear gun, shoot and strike the moving fish in the eye. You swim up again and deposit the fish in the boat. Now do this a few 100 times a day. Let that sink in. A few 100 times a day, which is almost 5 hours a day. So it's no wonder that Sulbin's hearing is short. It's because he doesn't equalize the pressure in his ears as he dives. He has never had any formal dive training and he was taught by his father to hold his breath. The lack of decompression for these seafaring nomads often leads to ruptured eardrums. It is said to make the diving easier for them, but scientists are now discovering fascinating genetic aspects about the sea nomads. They have unusually large spleens, almost 50% larger than other nearby farming communities. The spleen acts as a warehouse for oxygen-carrying red blood cells. So when mammals hold their breath, the spleen contracts, expelling those cells and boosting oxygen levels by up to 10%. For that reason, the best competition free divers tend to have the largest spleens, as do the deepest diving seals. It's even possible to train your spleen. It is found that after climbing Mount Everest, mountaineers empty more of their spleens while holding their breath than they could have before. But this has implications way beyond the ability to hold one's breath. Several disorders, including strokes and heart attacks, starve the body of oxygen. So the genetic tricks that help the Bajau thrive underwater may inspire new ways of protecting patients on dry land. Sadly, their amazing diving abilities have not won them much love. They are viewed with suspicion, and there is an air of mysticism around them. They live on the fringes of society, and they are losing their livelihoods and habitats to governments forcing them to stay on land. The Bajau Laut occupy the maritime border region shared by Malaysia, the Philippines, and Indonesia. They are seen as foreigners everywhere and nationals nowhere. Isn't it ironic that those who are at the edge of their existence, diminishing culturally with every passing day, living as stateless refugees, are the ones whose 1,000-year-old adaptations would save our lives? Isn't there a debt we owe to sea nomads for expanding not only the medical sciences, but also our minds about what is the realm of possibility? The modern world, obsessed with its nation states, has managed to make them stateless. But they could very well be the people who may outlive all of us, leaving our nation states bereft of land and the people we so paranoidly fight for. If you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on our social media. We are at IVM Podcasts on Twitter and Instagram. If you want to reach out to me, I am Utsav Mamoria on Twitter and YVTravel42 on Instagram.
I hope you enjoyed that show. If you aren't following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Another fun week in the books last week, and I think you guys should definitely check out some of the shows that we did. So first, let me tell you about Cock and Bull. We did 2 Cock and Bulls on Cyrus Says last week, which is, I don't think we've ever done before. But there was just so much to talk about, and it was fun. The first one was just on Trish, myself, and Cyrus. The second one, we had Abhijit Ganguly on, and that was a great episode. Do check that out. Check out Know Your Kanun as well. It's been a while since I spoke about that show, but Umber's been doing a great job on it. This week he spoke to Naina Sharma, a Canadian lawyer, about the ways that you do business in Canada and the challenges that presents. Definitely very interesting stuff. Do check that out. The guys at Non-Curry are doing some really, really fun stuff. Do check out their latest episode. They talk about roti, the simple bread, but it's got some complications to it. Let them tell you about what they are. Do check that out. Also, do definitely check out The Wire Talks with Siddharth Bhatia. He's been killing it, man. It's just a new show, but what great conversations. This week, he had Siddharth Singh on to talk about pollution. Do check that out. And you know what, guys? The best news of all, Simplified is back. They've been back for a few weeks and I haven't called them out before, but remember that they're back and do check them out. This week, they talk about, does censorship make sense? Knowing the guys, I think I know the answer to that, but you should go check that out. And with that, I hope to see you again next week.
Are you constantly seeking happiness? Wondering how to make the most of every day? How not to let your inhibitions stop you from achieving your goals? It's now time to get your A-game on. It's time to unlock your true potential. Tune in to the Empowering series with me, Zarina Poonawalla, to feel empowered in all genres of life. From behavioral skills to management skills. From health to relationships. From mental well-being to emotional well-being. And of course, your finances. I've got you covered. With these tips and tricks from me, Zarina, and true life stories from my amazing guests, you're bound to bring your purest to the table. Tune in to the Empowering series with Zarina Poonawalla every Thursday on the IVM Podcast app, website, or wherever you listen to podcasts.